Good day, everyone. I'm Mr. Rose Agnes, and today we will be explaining the topic monopoly. First, unsa di ay ang monopoly? Monopoly is a type of market situation where isa ra ka company or seller ang nagkontrol sa tibuok supply sa usa ka product or service. So wala siya competition ang tungod ana siya ray magbuot sa presyo. So sa basic manufacturing industries, rare ra kaayo ang monopoly, pero naa siya sa ubang sectors like steel, aluminum, and sa mga tabako. And also in public utilities, kanang mga serbisyo nga tanang tawo ang nanginahanglan like kuryente o tubig. Para mas masabot nato, let's look at some examples. So first example kay ang VECO. Kini nga company ang naghatag og kuryente sa tibuok Cebu. Siya ang authorized distributor. Yes, naay pwede magamit ng mga kandila or lampara, pero dili man convenient o di po siya makapuli sa electricity. So, VECO has no real competition maong monopoly siya. Next is MCWD. Pareho ra pud ni siya sa VECO. Ang service nga gi-offer niya kay tubig in some parts of Cebu. Siya ra ang supplier, so again monopoly pud ni siya. Kung monopoly ang isa ka company, siya ra usa ka seller ug ang iyang produkto ug serbisyo kay walay close substitute. Mao nga siya ra ang makadesisyon sa presyo ug gitawag kini of pure monopoly since ang pure monopoly kay it refers to the form of market organization in which there is a single firm producing a commodity or a service for which there are no close substitutes. Thus, the firm is the industry and faces a negatively sloped industry demand curve for commodity or service. Now, let's talk about the demand curve or kung unsa pa ang epekto sa presyo o demand sa produkto or serbisyo nga gi-offer sa usa ka monopolist. Sa pure competition nga setup, daghan sellers sa usa ka sa pure competition nga setup, daghan sellers. So sa usa ka seller dili gyud makabuhat sila og kaugalingong presyo. And ang presyo nga ilang sundon kay kanang sa market jud. And gitawag kani sila og price taker. Kung gusto sila mobaligya og daghan, pwede ra kaayo kay naa may ubang buyers nga kana bitaw willing mo palit og daghan even though nga mahal ang price o kanang kanang exist ang price sa kanang quality nga gihatag ana nga product. Pero in monopoly, lahi siya since usara man siya nga seller. So ang seller, siya ra gyud magbuot sa price. Pero dili siya pwede mo exceed og sobra kay kung masobrahan og taas ang presyo, nay possibility nga gamay ra ang mopalit. And mo na siya reason why nga ang demand curve sa monopoly kay downward sloping, meaning kung gusto siya mobaligya og mas daghan, kinahanglan niya iubos ang presyo. To explain this further, ang marginal revenue sa monopolist is always less than the price. Kay nga naman, kay kung i-lower ang price, mao ni siya reason nga baligya sila og daghang units. And dili ra sa kanang bag-o nga customers but also sa mga kanang karaan nila nga customers like katong mga retailers and wholesalers. Next is the reason why in monopoly the MRQ curve or marginal revenue lies below the demand or average revenue curve. It is because the monopolist must lower the price to sell more units. Since in demand curve shows the price consumers are willing to pay at each quantity. When the monopolist wants to sell more, then they have to drop the price for all units sold, not just the extra one. This means that the extra money, which is ang katong marginal revenue from selling one more unit is less than the price of that unit. That is why ang kanang marginal revenue curve kay below siya sa demand curve. In conclusion, to summarize to summarize the report, monopoly happens when only one company provides a certain product or service. Next is there are no close substitutes for what they offer. Next, they have control over the price, but they still need to consider how many people are willing to buy at that price. And lastly, their demand curve is downward sloping, meaning mas mahal ang presyo, mas gamay ang mupalit. Ang mga monopolist companies like Veco control essential services while they have power, kay kinahanglan man gihapon nila mo bantay sa presyo para dili mawala ang ilang customers or magreklamo ang publiko. The next topic will be short-run equilibrium, which will be reported by Ms. Nirvas.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Christine Yerba. So I'm going to report the short-term equilibrium, total revenue, total cost approach. So imagine you're running a business. There are questions you want to know. First is at what point would I be losing? So this happened when your costs or what you spend are higher than your revenue or what you earn. Second is at what point would I break even? This is when your cost and revenue are exactly the same. You're not making a profit, but you're not losing money either. So third is, at what point would I maximize profit? This is the sweet spot you want to find, the point where your revenue is the highest above your cost. The total revenue, total cost approach is a simple way to figure this out. You look at how much money you make at different levels of production and subtract your cost at each level. The point where the difference or your profit is biggest is your profit maximizing output. So that's your equilibrium output, the best amount to produce. So table 20 help you to show this. By comparing the total revenue and total cost at each quantity, you can see where profit is highest. The quantity at point is the equilibrium output for the monopolist. So here are the key concept or the tips. So profit maximization, firms aims to maximize profit, which is the difference between total revenue and total cost. Next is the total revenue or the TR. The total amount of money a firm receives from selling its output, price times quantity. Total cost or the TC. The total cost of producing a given output level. Monopolist output. A monopolist equilibrium output is where the difference between TR and TC is the largest maximized profit. This differs from the perfect competition where equilibrium is where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. So examining the profit column, we see that the maximum profit is 37.50 pesos, which occurs when the quantity produced is 2.5 units. The quantity that maximizes profit for the pure monopolist is 2.5 units. Next is Next topic is the profit maximization total curve. Even though monopoly has no competition, the basic rule for making the most money is still the same as the any business. Produce the amount or the difference between what you earn or the revenue and what you spend or the cost is the biggest. In figure 71, graph shows how a monopolist, a business with no competition, decide how much to produce to make the most money. So the total revenue TR, this curve shows how much the company makes at different production levels. Notice it's down shape. It goes up, then down. This is because while selling more initially increase revenue, at some point they have to lower the price so much to sell more than overall revenue starts to fall. So the total cost or the TEC, this curve shows how much it costs the company to produce at different levels. It always goes up because producing more always costs more. Next is the total profit or the TP. This isn't a curve directly on the graph, but it's the difference between TC and TC at any given point. Profit is highest when the vertical distance between the TR and TC curve is greatest. How to find the maximum profit? So look at the graph. Find the point where the distance between the TR curve and the TC curve is largest, where the total profit or the TP is maximized. In this graph, it happens at a quantity about 2.5. This means that monopolies should produce around 2.5 units to make the most profit. So in short, the monopolists find the production level where the difference between what they earn or the TR and what they spend or the TC is the biggest. So next topic is common misconception about monopolistic economy. So people often wrongly think that monopolies always change the highest possible price. This isn't true. So a monopoly will charge the price that makes them the most profit. Charging too high a price means fewer people will buy, reducing overall profit. The sweet spot price is where the marginal revenue or the extra money from selling one more unit or equals their marginal cost or the extra cost of making one more unit. So another misconception is that a monopolist demand is always inelastic, meaning price change don't affect demand much. This is also wrong. Monopolies want to operate where demand is elastic, meaning price change do significantly after demand. If demand is inelastic, lowering price actually reduces total revenue, which bad for the monopoly. So just because a company is monopoly doesn't mean it's guaranteed to make money. Even monopolies can lose money in short term. If that happens, they'll try to minimize their losses by producing amount of their marginal revenues still equals to marginal cost. So in figure 72 shows how a monopolist find the price and the quantity that maximize the profit. So the demand curve, this shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded. It slopes downward because as the price goes down, people buy more. Marginal revenue or the MR. This curve shows the extra revenue the monopolist gets from selling one more unit. It's more below the demand curve because to sell more, the monopolist must lower the price on the unit holds. Next is the marginal cost or the MC. This curve shows the extra cost of producing one more unit. Last is the average cost or the AC. This curve shows the average cost per unit. Finding the maximum profit. So profit is maximized where marginal revenue or the MR equals to marginal cost or the MC. In this graph, that happens at a quantity of about 2.5 units. To find the price, go up vertically from that quantity to the demand curve. The price at that point, approximately 55 pesos, is the profit maximizing price. The area between the demand curve and the average cost curve at the quantity represents the total profit. In short, the graph shows that the monopolist makes the most money by producing around 2.5 units and selling them at about 55 pesos each. In figure 73 shows what a monopolist does when they're losing money or incurring losses. Even though they're losing money, they just shut down. They don't just shut down. Instead, they try to minimize their losses. So marginal revenue or the MR, this curve shows the extra revenue from selling one more unit. Short-run marginal cost or the SMC, this curve shows the extra cost of producing one more unit. The short-run average cost or the SAC, this curve shows average cost per unit. Demand curve or the D, this shows how much is demanded in each price. Minimizing the losses. Even when losing money, the monopoly still produces where marginal revenue or the MR equals the short run marginal cost or the SMC. This point is where the loss is the smallest possible. The vertical distance between the average cost or the SAC and the demand curve at the MR equals SMC point represents the loss per unit. The monopolies continue to operate as long as the price is above the minimum point of the average variable cost curve. If the price falls below the point, the monopolies would shut down. In short, the graph shows that when losing money, a monopolist will stay produced to minimize their losses. They find the production level where the extra revenue from one more unit equals to extra cost of making it. So next topic will be tackled by Niero.